Hello, random YouTube people. Do you have a Polaris RZR 1000 4-seater? Then you, like me, are probably having a really hard time trying to find a spare tire rack. Not to worry, in this video I'm going to show you how to move it from here to here, clearing up some room for some other things like a cargo box, a cooler, gasoline, or other things that might tickle your fancy. Let me show you how I did it. Details right after this.
Subscribe.
I got this 2019 RZR 1000 4-seater used, and the person I bought it from just kind of left the spare tire here in this little back trunk area. They did not have a way to mount it, which was okay for the first couple of rides. You can see that the roll cage held the spare tire back there just fine, although it would roll back and forth, but we wanted a different solution. We wanted to be able to bring things with us like chairs and tools and things like that, which I didn't worry about it at first until I realized that nothing was fitting this machine. I literally tried about 4 or 5 different spare tire racks and they just didn't fit. And the sad reason is because they just don't make a spare tire rack for the RZR 4-seater. Everything that I was finding was for the RZR 1000 XP, not for the S. Let me explain why.
What's particularly interesting about this vehicle is it has the trail model roll cage. I tried to get a mount that connected to the cage here, but it didn't work because it's so pivoted. It pitches in to the bottom like this. So I'm going to show you the option that I found to do a Polaris 1000S. This is a 2019 that will fit with this particular roll cage situation.
My Amazon order history shows you that I tried a couple different spare tire mounts for my RZR here before I decided and settled on this Tusk spare tire carrier combo kit. So this Tusk spare tire carrier combo kit is a little pricey at $330, but what's nice about it is it also comes with a jack stand. You can get this particular model without the jack stand, but if I click on these pictures here, I'm going to show you why this is cool. It does not attach to the roll cage that goes to the back trunk area. It actually attaches to the roll cage here at the top and behind the seats in the back. What's really nice about that is when you go to do an oil change, you don't have to take the spare tire mount off to do an oil change to get to your oil filter and things like that. But you can see that this is for the 900 trail, but this is what we're going to put on our 1000S. So let's get to it.
This particular spare tire setup has 3 of these half brackets and then some bolts, and that's it. Because the other parts of these brackets are on the actual frame itself. Let me show you that. So here's the spare tire mounting rack right here. It's a Tusk brand, and what's really nice is this is not going to even touch the roll cage. It's going to mount to the top part of this roll cage at the top, and then down here, this bar is for putting on straps like harnesses, and so it's just going to attach down there and at the top. It doesn't even touch this part of the roll cage. So it's just going to sit here, and the other half of the mounting brackets go on the other side.
So the bolts for these are going to be an Allen wrench. It's a hex adapter, and this is going to be a 6mm. We've got a 6mm Allen wrench right here. And what's nice about this is the threaded brackets are on the actual mount itself, so you don't have to have a separate nut for the bolt. It just threads right in, so it's going to make installation even easier.
Just like that. Here's the bottom bracket. I'm going to try to start with that one. All right, I let go and it's kind of just staying there, so that's pretty awesome. I may have to go back and forth, left and right here, but it looks pretty centered already. I kind of dropped it in a great spot.
Grabbing that 6mm Allen wrench. So now I'm going to come up through this top bar of the roll cage. Between the roof and the roll cage, there's a little bit of a weather stripping. So I'm going to try to either smush the weather stripping or use my box cutter to cut off that weather stripping section there.
I have to take off the roof to get enough room to put this bracket in there. A little bit of a bummer.
Now just lining up the bracket so I know where to cut the weather stripping. And peeling off the weather stripping where the bracket's going to be. Grabbing the first bolt for the bracket. And here we go, tightening the bolts to the brackets for this first section. Now we all know tightening things down with an Allen wrench takes a long time. So I'm going to grab these awesome adapters for my socket wrench, which is going to speed up this process. I'm going to drop a link for these in the description. Before I tighten that all down, I'm going to do the exact same to the other side. Measure and cut the weather stripping down. And this last bracket under the roof.
would have been a lot easier if I didn't have a roof, or if I would have just took the roof off. That's also a pain in the butt. But really, it is simple to install, despite the roof issue. Not the rack, the roof. The design of this rack is actually really pretty nice. You just have the main roll bar here that you use for harnesses and things like that. And then it attaches up here to the roof roll cage, just in 3 contact points. And then it sits low so that your tire isn't going to hang too high. If you're doing a toy hauler, for example, and have like bunk beds, it's not going to hit that. So let's put the tire on and see what it does. The only thing I wish is it came with some lug nuts. It does not. I actually like the ones that spin around in the center, but this center hole is not threaded. But maybe you could run a bolt and a nut through on the other side. But I wish that it would have come with some lug nuts. I am a little bit worried about these bars and having the tire hit the bar. And if I have to flip it the other orientation, that maybe it'll be a little too high. I hope not. I have only a little bit of clearance to get into my trailer, so I'm hoping that it'll also clear the roof there too. These tires I have are 30-inch tires, so let's see what it looks like. I'm going to try this version first. Yeah, that's what I was worried about, the roll cage. Well, that way would work, except for it's hitting the roof. So you can see that tire is hitting the roof here. I have seen some people where this is flipped up, and maybe I will be able to bend it back somehow to get that out of the way. But I am a little bit worried about how tall it's sitting already. That's a little concerning. Granted, it will come down a little bit further once it sits into those, but I'm not working with a whole lot more room here. So I don't know if that's going to work for me, but just because of the situation where I'm backing into the trailer I have. Well, after I took off the roof, it fits just fine when it's the low side, if you will, down. If I flip it around so that the bulk of this metal piece is inside the wheel well, it doesn't fit because of these bars. If you have a machine that doesn't have these bars, then it would fit just perfectly fine if it was the other way around. Now I'm worried about the height. I just measured, and this comes in at about 77 to 78 inches at the very top. I need to go back into my trailer and measure, but if I have this set up, I'm going to have to try to bend or cut off the back flap of the roof because it conflicts with this area right here. You can see it's a little tight, but that is a 30-inch tire on this mount here. Other than the roof issue, it fits just great. Because I had to flip the wheel around, it sits up higher than I would like it to, but it has to avoid that part of the frame. So I put a piece of wood on here to line it up, and to the very bottom or the top of the wheel, bottom of this piece of wood, it's about 77. It's kind of twisted weird. Just over 77 inches. And inside my trailer, it's just about 80 inches to the top of the light. So that should work great. Assuming that the distance from the top of the tire here to the bottom of the tire here is going to fit inside the trailer when you're backing it in. It might come in at a weird angle, but we're gonna just have to mount it and pull out the trailer to see if it'll fit. What I'm going to do is get a piece of rubber to put on the top of this mount so that it's not wheel to metal here. But you can see, if I hop up on the RZR here, those bolts aren't long enough now to get a nut on it. So I looked all over at bolt stores and places to find a lug nut that would fit down the hole and still thread on. And I found this. It's called an acorn nut, but it doesn't quite work because of these slanted edges here. It never quite gets tight enough. So you can see I can spin it on here and it's kind of getting in there. It fits in the hole for the wheel, but it never quite catches. So this one's okay. Let me try another one.
And over here across the way, it doesn't quite fit down there. That's what she said. So I can start to spin, and it's getting relatively tight, but it's not really that tight. I had like a spin. I want like 4 or 5 spins, you know? And this one, as you put the other ones in, it doesn't quite work. It's kind of in there, but it's not. It doesn't quite fit. So let me go get my socket wrench and show you the dilemma. So I'm trying to spin this around and it's just not catching right. It just doesn't quite fit. It never continues to catch. It just spins forever. And as the razor sits here and bounces around, you know, these nuts are just gonna wobble and they're gonna fall right off. So these acorn nuts, they call them, they were almost perfect. If this was a little bit longer, they would have been perfect, but I cannot find a nut like this that's either flat right here or is long enough right here. And this is a very narrow diameter. I have 0.61 inches. There's some great ones I found that are 0.68, but they do not fit in this hole. So I've got a dilemma that I have to figure out. So my thought was to find something that could fit in this space and then have a bolt that goes down, and I can just have a nylock nut on the other side to hold this on here. And these would just act as guides to help position the tire, even though I can't get lug nuts on there. So in my searchings online, I found a spare tire retainer that looks like this. This is actually for a Honda, but I thought that it was going to work. They gave no product dimensions, so I just went ahead and bought it anyways. But you can see this is just way too small. It doesn't even fit at all. So gonna be returning that one. So I continued thinking and looking. I measured, and from here to here is 4.5 inches. You can see there's a little bit of a lip that we could have something grab onto it. And what I found was this. It's actually a grinding blade for a hand grinder. You can see it says diamond grinding wheel, but it happens to be 4.5 inches. You can see there's a nice place to attach a washer and a bolt right there. And this just drops right on. And it fits nice and snug in that little hole, and it's not going to damage the inside of the rim, and I can get a bolt that goes down through. I just need to find something that's pretty short, but will have a washer and a nut on one side and a lock nut on the other side. So yeah, it will work. I mean, it's pretty thick. It looks pretty legit. All right, so I found a nice bolt and nut situation. You can see that this isn't moving very much at all when I shake the wheel. Actually, it's probably kind of hard to see. So I didn't even tighten it all the way, but the reason why is because I'm going to undo it. This bolt and nut, it's a little longer than I want it to be, but at least now I know exactly what size it's supposed to be because I took it off from right here. So as long as I can match this same bolt and nut, I can use the same tools for the razor because they're going to be the same size. So this bolt and nut combination works great for my situation for this spare tire here. So now I just need to go find an additional set and then we are good. You can't tell, but it's not moving an inch. So next is to find the nut and bolt, of course, and then put that nice little rubber piece on there so it doesn't screw up the wheel too bad. Not that it's that important, it's a spare tire, but still. Take care of what you own. The last thing I'm gonna need to do is figure out how to cut an arch out of this because the spare tire is going to take up some of this space. I still want the roof on. I could bend it right here at this line and have it flip up. That's also an option, but it might be easier to just try to cut a circle. Maybe I'll think it's easier now, but maybe it'll be much more hard when I actually go to do it. But that's the last part of this after we get the bolt and everything situated, is to figure out how to deal with this roof being too big in this area. As you can see, that tire is just barely in the way of this being able to come down and sit in this area right here. Now that I'm up on the razor, you can see there's really not a whole lot of room I need to cut out. Just this teeny little section here, which should probably be just fine to get it to slide past that wheel. I'm also thinking that if I bend it right here so that this will sit up higher, then it might be too high for backing it into the trailer. That might catch on the light when backing it in. That might put it too high. Now, I thought for sure I had video of me cutting this little arch piece out, but I could not find it anywhere. What I did is use a multi-tool with a metal blade to cut this little arch out, and it actually turned out quite great, even though it took a little bit of time. Now you can see after I cut that little arch piece out, it fits around the wheel perfect. If I cut a bigger wheel, it probably would need to be cut again, but it looks amazing. And here is a better angle from the top. You can see it fits around the wheel perfect. There's jagged edges, but don't worry, I'm going to take care of that. And you'll also notice there are two other holes in the top of the roof where the brackets are poking out. I noticed that when I cut out the arch for the wheel, that the roof still didn't sit down flush because those mounting brackets are so thick. So I got underneath and I did some measurements and I ended up cutting these squares in the roof and it fits perfect. And I'm very happy with how it turned out. I just need to take care of the jagged edge situation. And you can see I ran over to AutoZone and I picked up some door trim, and that's what I put around these jagged edges. I just had to measure and cut some angles, and I think it looks pretty good. You know, it might look like it came from the factory, you might say. I also added some touch-up spray paint to the roof on sections that I scratched a little bit so that it looks great. And you know what? After this is dry, you're not going to tell that it just didn't come this way to begin with. Let's go ahead and put it on and see what it looks like. So there we go. You can see it goes around the tire. It looks great. It looks like it was made to be this way. And I'm happy with the end result. I obviously didn't want to cut the holes in the roof, but I think it looks great. So I got a decently thick piece of rubber, not too thick of course, and I cut a hole in the center. And now what this does is protect the rim from rubbing up against the spare tire rack. And you can see that I have the rubber poking out around the edge, so it shouldn't touch any part of the wheel to the spare tire rack. So I'm really happy about that. And I also decided to change my mind up a little bit. I found this perfect disc, and I'll try to share a link to it on Amazon, but it's nice and thick and it will fit this 4.5 inch space perfectly. You'll see, it just drops right in there. It's like it was designed to do this exact thing. So now I'm going to put the bolts on. I got a new set of bolts. There's a bolt and a washer. And because this bracket that I just got sits up a little bit higher than the disc grinder, I made sure that the bolt was the right size. And it's the same as the one that went through my frame earlier. So here's the nut and bolt and washer setup that's going to hold this spare tire in place nice and firm. So let's run the nut on there and go ahead and tighten it up. All right, with everything all tightened up, you can see as I try to move the rim and the wheel, it's not moving at all. It is nice and secure. This is holding it on great. It's not going anywhere. So, and it also looks really nice too. There's not going to be any pool of water or dust that builds up in that little dip of the grinding wheel. And because I had to rotate the wheel the other way, I had this nice open empty section of the tire rack, and I decided to put my jack stand inside. And it looks great. I keep saying it looks great, but that's because it does look great. It fills that space perfectly. And it looks nice and clean at the top. It looks like it was meant to be this way. Now for the last and final test. Will it fit in my toy hauler, or is it going to hit that light from the bunk beds? Let's find out. And here we go. Gonna go as slow as I can at this point just to make sure that I don't hit it. And look at that. Just barely fits that light. I wish those lights were a little smaller, but it works. I only have a couple of inches, but it works. And look at that. It's rider approved. You can also see I snagged a video of my rear view mirror. With the tire being up higher and reversed the other way, I do have quite a lot of room in the back for visibility. And like I mentioned at the very beginning, if you ever had to take that part of the roll cage off for whatever reason, you don't have to worry about removing the spare tire rack. It's great. And that, random YouTube people, is how I was able to move my spare tire out of the trunk and up to the top on my 1000 S4 Polaris. Now watch as I put this new spare tire rack to the test.
On the big hill.
Louder. Where are you?
On the big hill.
On the big hill.
Let's go! Okay, guys. Do you see we're up having some razors? My Nana and Papa have a razor, and this is mine. And you're gonna see it from far away, and you can see the whole thing. Pretty cool, right?
Yep.
And I want to show you the back part of it. I'm pretty good at climbing this thing. Oh. Viewers that liked my video, I'm gonna be fine.
Be sure to check out my other Polaris RZR and UTV videos, like this mighty tight quick release system so you don't have to use tie downs anymore. Slick products for maintaining your UTV and making it look brand new. Installing an SSV Works overhead stereo system. Installing a parking brake. Changing the oil and the oil filter. Replacing the steering rack and pinion, CV axles. Replacing the solenoid battery connection terminal. Plenty more yet to come. You'll find it here at DIY Bry. I will show a link to my RZR playlist at the end of this video. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. If you find my content relatable or informative, please give this video some kind of interaction, such as smashing that like button, commenting, and sharing this video with all of your friends. This helps the YouTube algorithms know how to share my content with other random people just like you. And to be sure you don't miss out on future bodacious content,
Subscribe.
subscribe.